Governor Wallace, I'd like to ask you a question in the economic area. One of the major phenomena that America has experienced in the last several decades has been the mechanization of labor in rural areas, such that hundreds of thousands of people in your state and in many other states have been thrown into a state of near starvation, many of them being forced to migrate to the cities, particularly in the north. You've spoken a great deal about the obligations of local government. I wonder what you have done in Alabama, or what other southern governors have done to deal with the plight of this mass of people.
I cannot tell you what other southern governors may have done, but of course your statement that many people are near starvation is entirely incorrect and erroneous. We probably have people in our state, the same as in the state that you are speaking from, that have a deficient diet at times, but as far as anybody starving to death, that's simply not the case. Our system in this part of the country that grew up even after the war between the states that you don't necessarily like, I would say, which had some paternalism in it, has seen that this doesn't happen. But the mechanization of farming, of agriculture, has drawn many people from the rural areas into the large cities of our country unprepared for urban life. We have built a great number of junior colleges and trade schools in our state, and as a consequence, we today have them jammed to capacity with Negro and white students. We are attempting to solve this problem through education. Now, we find that many of our Negro citizens have gone to New Jersey, to Michigan, and to New York because politicians in those states have said it's so good here and it's so bad in Alabama. But we find that many of them who went there came back and said it's a lot better in Alabama than it was there.
Well, Governor, I certainly...
How many came back?
I certainly am an advocate of higher education, and I commend you for the building of junior colleges, but that doesn't do much to ease the plight of families who have no jobs. Now,
Well,
I noticed 2 weeks ago that Justice Hugo Black of the Supreme Court ordered the state of Alabama to restore 20,000 children to the public welfare rolls there.
Yes, sir.
And there are many other reports from southern areas that
Well,
people are in a state of severe malnutrition bordering on starvation.
Well, that's not correct. I would like to invite you gentlemen to come down and see for yourself, and you will say what many have said when they got here, that we've just been misled. Now,
well, there are a number of commissions that have gone down and have reported to the Congress and to the American people quite to the contrary.
Well,
Which
that's right, but
commissions,
that doesn't
sir?
mean that the commissions are reporting truth, because we just don't have
Well,
people
they're
starving
very reputable members on these commissions.
Well, Professor Cloward, would you cite a specific commission report, and then we can ask the governor about that?
Well, there was a commission report that was filed just a few months ago.
By whom?
By a group of organizations in the North, such as the Field Foundation. The commission was headed by Mr. Leslie Dunbar, formerly of the Southern Regional Council, and it was supported by a number of foundations, governmental organizations, and private individuals. And they had doctors who examined the condition of children, and very reputable physicians who had no particular stake in condemning the South unnecessarily.
Well, this exists where you have poverty, not only in Alabama and the South, but it exists in New York.
Well, it does exist in Alabama, sir? Is that what you're saying now?
I'm saying that what you're saying, you get the commissions to study Alabama, but where did the rioting and where did the breakdown of law and order come because they said conditions were intolerable? It wasn't in Alabama. We didn't have any breakdown of law and order. We didn't have any rioting.
Nobody said anything about rioting. It was a question
I know you didn't say
poverty,
anything about
Governor.
rioting, but they say that
Well,
the
my
cause
question
of the
was about-
riots came because of poverty.
My question was
And
about
the lack-
economic policy. And,
Well, our economic policy is that
your public welfare system does not permit people on the rolls, especially children.
We did, no, so here's what we had, a rule that I think is a common sense rule, that if a working, able-bodied man lived in the home, that even though he was not the father or the husband of the wife, but lived with the woman, lived with her in the home where the children were and was working and able-bodied, then you couldn't put those children on aid-dependent children because...
Well, but Governor, that amounts to saying that a man who has no legal liability for a family is going to be forced by the welfare system to care for that family.
I think it's a pretty good rule when an able-bodied man lives with a woman and children as man and wife, even though they're not married, and lives in that household that...
And even though he's not employed.
No.
Even though there's no
sir,
employment
we didn't
for
say
him.
that. I said if he was employed. If he's unemployed, then of course they can get aid to dependent children. It was when an able-bodied man lived with a woman, the mother of the children, and had employment. They could not.
Governor, in your state, when a man is employed, the family cannot get public welfare. The point is he must leave that family. If he is indeed the father or the husband, he must desert that family before they can then go on to public welfare rolls. That happens to be true in many, many other states, too.
Well, what you're saying, of course, is that you think that we ought to spend more on welfare, and I think we ought to get away from welfare and not pay able-bodied people.
Well, I'd be interested in your answer of how we could do that, Governor. What economic policies have you promulgated to care for people who have been displaced by machines in rural areas?
Well, I said that we have the junior
Besides junior colleges, which
and trade school program, and another thing
well,
we've
how
done.
do people eat in the meanwhile?
Well, how do they eat in Alabama?
How do they eat while they're waiting to grow up to go to those junior colleges?
Well, they're eating in Alabama, and it's just not as bad as you've heard it happens to be. And
well, now,
let me answer. We got last year in our state we had more new industry than I think any state save one in the South. $655 million of new and expanded industry. We haven't had the non-white unemployment problem in Alabama that you have in the FEPC states. In fact, the Department of Labor reported statistics that show there's less non-white unemployment. At least this was
Governor,
a year
I'm sorry.
ago.
Forgive me. Our time is up, and we must leave now from Montgomery, Alabama. Thanks to you, Governor.